Good morning, everyone. Welcome to A Course in Miracles Friday morning. I'm Lisa Natoli, and I'm so happy to be here. And this morning is one of my favorite new formats that we've introduced over the last couple months, and it's group teach. And group teach is when different individuals come up here to share their experience of A Course in Miracles. Welcome live streamers. So I'm just going to open briefly and really just give a little recap like I always do of what this group is. So we started this group, Bill and I, 4 years ago as a place for community, a place where people could really just join who are interested in A Course in Miracles. And our intention always is not that this would be a class where we talk about A Course in Miracles and you sit and you learn something. Like those days are over. Like this really is a place where there's inspiration and encouragement and activation that each and every one of us who begins to hear this message feels a stirring in yourself and then wants to practice and apply and use these lessons. And to me, this is really what the Course in Miracles is. It's a call for teachers. It's a call for individuals to know themselves as God created them. And in my mind, I've been on this path for 30 years. I've had the Course in Miracles for that long. And for almost that long, I was trying to understand what it said. Who's done that, right? We're all talking about it. But you come to a place where you want the experience that it's promising, right? You want the peace and the joy and the happiness. And you want to know yourself as eternal and changeless and free and creative as a child of God. And so what has come to me over the last couple years is to stop talking about it, to do what it says. And that's always my encouragement. Like there's so many paths to God. There's no one right way to God. There's so many, Buddhism, just any religion, any spiritual path, any teacher will get you there. Kindness, that's a great path. Kindness will get you there and you don't need a book. Love yourself. That's a path. That'll get you there and you don't need a book. But what I have found is that many people they start backsliding into their old patterns. So Course in Miracles to me is a great way to just have that foundation. So today what we're going to do is have different individuals come and speak about their experience, because that's what we wanted this group to be, a place where you don't sit on the sidelines anymore. You step forth as the light of the world and begin extending yourself. And a great place is right here with this microphone. So thank you for joining. And I'm going to invite Mike up to do our daily reading from Cafe Gratitude. Welcome, Michael. Woo-hoo!
And I prefer Michael, if you don't mind.
I actually just called you Michael when I sat down.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm Michael. And today's reading is, the heart has reason that reason does not know. I think meaning intellect versus the heart. And what is your superpower?
What's yours?
Love, my heart space, God. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So what we're going to do now is we're going to greet each other in love. And what I would like for you to do, inspired by Michael with that question, is I want you to, when you greet each other with the namaste, I want you to tell the other person what your superpower is. And I ask you guys online, live streamers, to write down what your superpower is in the chat board. So if we want to rise and greet each other in love with your superpower. Lisa, leave the microphone on. They like to hear what's going on in the superpower. Namaste! Namaste! Vulnerability!
Vulnerability.
Trust. Superpowers.
Your superpower, Linda?
Trust.
Mine's joy.
Oh, nice. Ready? Dun, dun. Okay. Hello. Bring it back. I know. Quit with all the loving. Come on back. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Like Lisa was saying, this is one of my favorites too, this new group teach that we're doing. It's like open mic. It's like spiritual karaoke. We get to see how God just expresses through everyone. And it's just like, and we can talk about the same topic and have such beautiful insights and different perspectives and reach people and get more in so many different ways and get more clarity for ourselves. So I honor all of you. I know some of you have a heart pounding right now and let you know you're alive. It's just anxiety. So our topic, and I love what Lisa said, how we come together here. I love when she says things like, those days are over. You know, when we come together and we just read and we talk about it, and that this is a great place to actually step into it. And that's why Lisa and Bill even created this is the Teachers of God Foundation. And getting up here with this mic is only one small way we're actually teachers of God. We can be teachers of God in everything we do, when we wash the dishes or stand in the grocery checkout line or are in the middle of conflict or in the middle of joy. It's a never-ending task that we're asked to step into. So, but I really appreciate everybody that's going to get up here. I know how courageous you are. And we love you all so much. So our topic is anxiety. So I was also thinking, I'm just going to say this real quick. I was thinking this morning while I was getting ready, how incredible all this is. This actually started when Lisa Natoli decided to, well, the 40-day program, it's obvious for anyone who's taken it. It was not of her. It came through her, sort of like the Course in Miracles did. the most incredible program I have ever known. I'm sure there are some out there as good. I really hope there are. But it is the most transformational program I've ever seen. And the fact that you decided to give it away for free, and to see what's happening with this program around the world is incredible. And then many people asked, myself included, to go further. They wanted more after the 40-day. So the Living in Purpose Mastery Program was created by Lisa and Bill. People wanted some help around prosperity. True Prosperity was created. ACIM 365, so the world can be helped in going through the transformation from fear to love, using the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles. So just all that is done here at this nonprofit foundation. Just so proud. And now we have the Transformation Room. It's not a course, it's a membership site. And it's a more generalized practice area. We pick a different coaching topic every month. And you get 4 deliverables a month based on that coaching topic. And we have a library of all our there's so many past teachings through the Teachers of God Foundation that's all really in there and categorized, plus teachings from who we feel are some of the greatest teachers and spiritual leaders around the world. And we have a great community, a Facebook community, all there to support and love each other. And it's a place to come to meet a bunch of other people doing the same work you are, who are always going to hold you to the truth. We have other communities in our lives, other Facebook groups, other friends, other family, but this is a place where whatever is going on with you, wherever you are, you're going to be met with your brilliance. And the people are going to expect you to do the same for them. So our monthly coaching topic, we really like to get requests from our members, and a lot of people asked for a topic on anxiety. So that is our November topic here in the Transformation Room. And by the way, open enrollment for the Transformation only happens about 4 times a year, so that we can stay focused on our work. So the next opening is right around the corner, which is November, this month, 27th through the 30th. It's only 4 days, and it won't open again till probably early spring. So it's a monthly membership. You stay as long as you go. We've made it really affordable for everybody. So if you go to our website right now at teachersofgod.org, you want to get on the wait list, because that's all you can do right now. And now we have your information, and we'll let you know and remind you as soon as the cart's opening and the upcoming topics that we have. So get on the wait list. Okay, so the topic of anxiety. I think anxiety is sort of a worldwide conundrum right now for a bunch of us. I know for me, when I was about 15 or 16, I started to develop a phobia, a couple of them. Mine happened to be, and I don't meet too many other people with the phobia I had a phobia of throwing up. And it lasted all the way till I was about 26, and it took over my life in a lot of ways. If I spoke with somebody who knew somebody who might have had the flu or something, I wouldn't eat for days. I would worry. I would leave parties if I thought somebody was sick. I was just, and I also had a huge phobia of flying. And I'm thinking about that this morning. I'm like, that is both of those situations. You're like totally being afraid of losing control of the body. And because I guess back then is what I really thought where my safety lies, was me staying in control of this communication device, this meat wagon. And then things started to change, but I think things really changed for me when I started to do the 40-day program, and when I started to actually do the workbook lessons. Before I knew it, they were absolutely gone. More than gone. Like, I don't worry about much. Like I was saying to somebody, I honestly sometimes think I could be like in an airplane, because I fly all the time. I don't worry about getting sick. I honestly think I could be in an airplane and look out and like see that we're heading straight into a mountain. And I'd be like, I didn't see that coming. I'm not scared in the same way. It's been gradual. It's discovering who I am. And I think the workbook lessons were the biggest teacher for me, because the first half of the workbook lessons, you sort of work, it just daily, gradually dismantles all those thoughts of fear and those thoughts of separation and who you're not. And then the second half of the workbook lessons, all those thoughts get replaced with thoughts of love. Not even replaced. It's just, it's what's, you get to see what's already there, the truth of you. You're not getting anything, just unblocking it. You know, I never knew the truth of who I was. Really, I was looking in the wrong direction. And people say, well, I don't, I don't know my true self. Well, to me, it's so simple. Like, if you don't know someone, it's probably because you don't spend time with them. I was spending more time with my false self. And when I started to spend time intentionally with my true self, things started to change automatically. So I think I'm done. So I want to bring on our teachers who are so awesome. We got 6 of them. So we are going to start with Nancy. This is your first time up here? Oh, you have? Oh, with the graduate. This is your first time. Everyone's got about 10 minutes. I will be the timekeeper. So I'll give you a little 2-minute warning. Okay, awesome. Welcome, Nancy. Yeah, you're in. Thank you, guys.
Okay, this is it. My name is Nancy Peacock, and I'm full of gratitude to be here with all of you, as nervous as I am. This is, I think, a growth experience, so I'm happy to do it. I think a lot of people have experienced anxiety. I think it's, like Lisa said, it's pervasive in our society today. It's not going away as fast as one would like. I think the difference is, at this point, we are talking about it more, anxiety and depression, and what's kind of driving the discourse today. So I'm grateful that we're talking about it, because my experience was very an isolating experience, which I think having anxiety will do. You go inside yourself. So my anxiety actually started as an infant. I can't prove that, but I was told that I was unsettled. I also had major surgery when I was like 5 weeks old. So it's the only way for a long time I could kind of understand why I was an anxious child, why I was so super sensitive. I don't know if I was difficult, but I'm sure my mother thought I was at times, because the anxiety would rear its ugly head and I would become resistant and upset and fearful, reactive. And it's interesting that you brought up phobia, because I had my first phobia at 6 years old, when I was deathly afraid of riding on the school bus. And I laugh at it now. I mean, it sounds silly, but it really was. I mean, the school bus would go around the corner and we'd all fall into the middle of the aisle. And you'd get crushed. There was no seatbelts. It was ridiculous. And then, winter came and there were icy streets, and I thought that the bus driver was a lunatic driving around corners. And it's very clear to me how it felt right now. So I finally confessed to a first grade teacher that I was deathly scared of leaving school right now because of the school bus. She sat me down and explained how the school bus works. It has these springs, and I'm like, it still doesn't help. We all end up in the middle of the aisle, but whatever. I moved on to just becoming an anxious middle schooler, self-conscious, worrisome, all the things that we know about anxiety. And then it turned into full-blown depression as I approached leaving high school. It wasn't something, I knew something was wrong. I knew I wasn't myself, because I had good times. I had happy times. I knew what that was like. And when these things happened, it was extremely uncomfortable, as I think some of us know. And I went to the library and I researched depression and diagnosed myself. I didn't tell my mother. She didn't really understand it. though. I think that's when I really started to become curious and wanted to, I don't know what I was going to do with it actually, but I also learned, which I was looking for a reason, I guess, and that was the searching and the seeking that went on. And of course, my grandmother, we visited her in a sanitarium. So why was she there? She wasn't doing real well. And then I found out her mother died in the New York State hospital. So you're kind of like labeling it, and then you're inherited it, and all this stuff carries with you. So then eventually, went on medication. Medication was not easy. Medication made you worse before you got better, and I'm not so sure that it ever worked in the first place, but that's another story. So through adulthood and various, having a kid and marriage and business and all that, I navigated through. There were really dark moments. There was the black hole. It was truly getting worse, and my health wasn't getting any better either at a young age. So I had no coping skills. I wanted to fix myself, and we know how that works. So I really believe that through challenges, our greatest growth can occur. And I learned that through my son's drug addiction, which were dark days. Had a head injury. He never came up really recovered. He got into drugs. And there was a day when a friend of mine I was on the phone with her. My son wouldn't go to school. He was like 14 or 15. I've kind of blocked it all out. And she said, "You got to do something." I'm like, "Well, I've tried everything. I'm trying to find a safe place for him to go." And she's like, "Well, I don't know. You drag him to school." I'm like, "Well, he weighs more than me, and he's kind of up there, dead weight, laying around, and that's not going to happen." I got really, it was just, what do? You can't give up. He's your child. So I said to her, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do know I'm giving it up to God." And it just came out of my mouth. I don't know where it came from. It came out. So I hung up. I put my head back and I went, "I have nothing. I've tried everything and it's not working." And I just sort of kind of went into a trance or whatever. And I got up. I was told to get up, go back to the computer. And this was 15 years ago. And the internet was, it wasn't, I don't even know if Google was around back then, but I was searching. And within 15 minutes, I was on the phone with a safe place for my son to go. And in less than 48 hours, he was in a safe place. And it all worked out. It was scary, unknown, but that was my first glimpse of, I know God is there, but I just really didn't know how to access it on a regular basis. So from there, there was a growth period. There was a shift not that long ago in the last 8 years where I started to realize that I wanted more out of my life, and I started to do the self-care, the self-love, and through that, I believe, was part of the beginning of a better way to live. And I ended up getting off all depression medication, asthma medication, all 2 minutes. So that was part of it. So I do want to get in how I got here, because that was another challenging moment. And that was when my father and brother were both living together, and my brother got ill, and my father was 91. And it was a process. It went months and months, and it was just, I felt guided. I knew then that this was over my head again. Being older, you get wiser. And I started to kind of say, I know I'm going to be guided through this. My brother had open heart surgery. He recovered. I had a break. I could go down to the Healthy Living Expo, right? 1 year ago. And I was free of a lot of burdens at that point, a successful recovery for him, and my father was stable. And I signed up for the 40-day program. And I know Bill was there, because I got a hug from Bill. So I I was there and I'm like, I don't have anything going on. I had given up so much of what I was doing. And I just said, what the heck? So I got the email. I did my, what did we do? We commitment. And that was one of the things is I am no longer a fixer. That was one of the first things. And then I started the program right on Thanksgiving, December 1st. My father went down and he ended up in hospice. And I said to the group on Facebook, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm just taking off my whatever again. And they encouraged me to stay with it. And I did. And I remember Lisa talking about, I think what Bill does when he puts his hand to his heart. And I used that the whole time my dad was in hospice because I would start having palpitations and it just went away. So in gratitude, thank you. This has been quite an experience. And I'm just excited that I have all your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we just take a moment to go into our hearts?
Tell them your name first.
Okay. My name is Shirley O'Conner. And so can we take a moment to go into our hearts and just to ask the Holy Spirit to be with us and to remember that we are children of God and we are all lights of the world. So I came here to A Course in Miracles from a 12-step program from Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been sober 39 years. And when I say it out loud, I can't believe it. But I'm not that old. So anyway, so I came here. I've been in the Course in Miracles 25 years. And as Lisa said, when I first came here, when I went to meetings, I had so many wonderful teachers in A Course in Miracles. And if I started naming them, I'd be afraid I'd leave someone out. So I'm not going to do that. But many. And I've learned so much about myself. I'm nervous. And I have to say it out loud. So, oh, thank you. I love you all, too. Oh, my God, I'm going to start crying because when I come here on Friday morning, I just feel like the arms of Jesus are wrapped right around me. And that's the truth, you know. So anyways, I was understanding the Course in Miracles for many years, coming to meetings, but I really didn't start working on myself until Lisa came along, Lisa and Bill. And they used to be in the third row in unity in the same place every week. And I really didn't get to know them until I went to a conference in Chicago where Lisa was picked to be a co-speaker at the next meeting. I think it was in New York. Because I went to all the conferences. I loved alcohol. I do love Alcoholics Anonymous and A Course in Miracles, which brought me to where I am now. And anyway, I took the 40 days that Lisa presented. I did that like probably 3 times. And so I learned when I was in a situation for myself that I could be in the moment, in the present moment, and give that moment to the Holy Spirit, whatever the situation was. If it was from an old belief system that I believed about myself, I could turn that over to the Holy Spirit. And that's the atonement, the forgiveness of the Course in Miracles. And it took me a long time to get there. But I'm here. And I'm really, really having a wonderful life because of that. You know, just to forgive everything that comes along in the moment, even if I get triggered. And a lot of times I do get triggered still. And because I think these feelings go deeper and deeper as you're around these halls long enough. And so the last time I got triggered was at the Sunday meeting last week. And for some reason, I had my hand up and I didn't get called on right away. And I got triggered to thinking, what came up for me was, I had nothing important to say. And today I don't believe that, but I believed that when I was a kid, when I was told to be quiet or, go to your room or whatever it was. I held that within my body for all those years. And so I wanted to share that out loud because that's not true, and I love being in the transformation room because I see all these young women speaking how they really feel. And it doesn't take them long. But I was talking to Bonnie about that. Excuse me, I'm dry. I was talking to Bonnie about that, and she told me, and I love her for saying this, you were tilling the soil that whole time that you were here in the Course in Miracles and helping us to come to the place where we are. And I just absolutely love that, Bonnie. Thank you for saying that, because I didn't understand that. And it makes me feel really the love that I am and the love I have for all of you, because I know it wasn't in vain. I was coming here, and even though I wasn't changing right away, I was here in the love that was here. And I'm so appreciative of that. So, when I get in this situation, as I say, that's exactly what I do. So I just wanted to read this lesson. I'm shaking.
Shining.
Okay, I'm shining. Thank you. I love you, Father, and I love your Son. My gratitude permits my love to be accepted without fear, and thus am I restored to my reality at last. All that intrudes on my holy sight forgiveness takes away, and I draw near the end of senseless journeys and careers and artificial values. I accept instead what God establishes as mine, sure that in that alone I will be saved, sure that I go through fear to meet my love. Father, I come to you today because I would not follow any way but yours. You are beside me, certain in your way, and I am grateful for your holy gifts of certain sanctuary and escape from everything that would obscure my love for God, my Father, and his Holy Son. That's it. That's all I have.
Come on up, Lynn.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, kids. I'm going to read not read my notes, but I have notes. My name. Who am I today? My name is Lynn Markert, and I'm anxious, talking about anxiety. It's funny, I spoke once before, and I wasn't as anxious, but now talking about anxiety. So thank you to everyone who went before me, because it's really helped me to be a little calmer. So anxiety for me is a word spelled in all caps. It's huge. It has been for most of my life and continues to be. It's been my unfortunate trusty companion through most of my years. And through the Course in Miracles and going to Unity and having this community, which I love and I feel very loved by, I have come to understand that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. However, the human experience, when accompanied by chronic anxiety, is pretty tough. It's pretty challenging. My anxiety strikes me in the morning, first thing when I wake up, pretty much most mornings. And it's not so much a thought, it's not so much an emotion, it's a physical feeling that strikes in my gut. And my inclination is to want to stay in bed, to pull the covers over, to burrow in my cave, and to not get up. But what I find is rather than that being soothing for me, it increases my anxiety. It makes me feel worse. And so I force myself to get up. I'm going to put these notes down. For me, my anxiety resides in my body. It's very physical. And for me, it comes from muscle memory. It comes from early experiences. And I was a very educated child. And my education was primarily from my mother and my grandparents, whom I lived with. And that education, that message for me was, the world is a dangerous place. Exclamation point. My mother was always very nervous. My grandmother was nervous. My grandfather, if you pretend that my shoulder is an arm of a chair, my grandfather would sit in his chair all day doing this. All day long. And my grandmother would say, Bill, stop that. And he'd stop. And then he'd start. So I internalized my family's anxiety, which was reinforced quite dramatically that the world is a dangerous place by my next door neighbor who sexually abused me from the time I was 7 until about 12. So everything that I internalized and all those conscious and unconscious lessons from my family were highly reinforced. And so now, when I'm anxious, although I recognize that a lot of my anxiety is rooted in the past, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with what's happening in the present, when I wake up in the morning, those physical body memories are there with me. And I can tell myself I'm safe, nothing horrible is happening to me, plane is not crashing into my house, and it doesn't work in those moments. So what is working for me, and it takes a lot of practice, in addition to the Course in Miracles, and I do this I deal with my anxiety in steps, and this is what's starting to work for me, is moving my body, because I'm finding that I have to, that energy, it's like this physical energy in my body, and I have to do something with that to diminish it. So what I do is I move. I get myself out of bed. I might exercise. I might go for a walk. Sometimes I leave the house and go get a cup of coffee somewhere in a coffee shop, so that I change my environment. I change my position in the world. And that works for me. And then I'm able to move from the physical realm into the spiritual realm. At that point, when I'm feeling more settled, I can pray. I meditate, which I love. I read A Course in Miracles lesson, which I love. And what all those things do for me is they cement for me the calm and the peace that I have found from moving away from all of those physical sensations. And I want to say something about, I think, Nancy, you mentioned we're living in a world where so many of us are so anxious. And that is very present day. And I want to say that the Course has helped me to feel a sense of empowerment. And I think so many of us do feel out of control. And when you're an anxious person, you do feel like everything is out of your control. It may not be true that everything is out of your control, but it feels that way in those moments. It feels that way in those moments, right? And it is true we don't have control. But when you're anxious, it's terrifying. When I find peace, it's like, yeah, well, I have no control. But through the Course and through this community and all the love that I feel and and the practices that I am cultivating, I'm feeling more empowered. And I wouldn't be standing here in front of you all if I didn't. And I wouldn't be doing the things out in the world that I'm doing that help me to feel less out of control about what's happening in the world. And I would encourage anyone who experiences anxiety to really be in touch with your bodies as well as your spiritual side. And move the energy, be physical, do things that dissipate that. And out in the world, what I've started doing is becoming more sort of politically active, socially active. I go to the commune in Newburyport on Fridays often and write postcards encouraging people to vote. For me, it's about movement, and it can be physical movement and spiritual movement, and understanding and feeling my connection with God within me. I come here on Fridays and I always leave feeling better than when I came in, because I feel calmer, I feel loved, I feel encouraged. I feel that way on Sundays when I leave Unity. I always feel so much better. So I just want to encourage everyone who suffers from anxiety to not sit with it, because it's paralyzing, and not to try and mentally make it go away, because I'm not sure that that really works very well. Doesn't for me. It might for other people. But connect the body with the spirit and the mind, because we are all of those things. And for me, it really helps. So thank you, everybody.
Martha. Good morning, everyone. I love you. Here I am, Lord. Oh, Martha Warrenowski. Yes. I'm one of those people who, even as a child, used to hide in the back room, back of the room in school during, book report day and week, always afraid to get up there. And when I did get up there, my knees would be shaking and everything. Yeah, you can't tell I'm shaking. No, I'm here because I'm so grateful for Jesus, for the Course, for all of you, for the truth that we are. I wasn't going to go into my story. I was just going to say I have a story, but people have been sharing, and it just helps me to see. So I'll tell a little bit of my story. I didn't really think that I could relate to anxiety because, fear is one thing, but I think of anxiety as either like a panic attack or whatever. And I never really get that far because I zone out, I dissociate, or that has been my practice. That's been my story. That's what I developed as a child. The minute I feel discomfort, my family, I believe, what I remember is wonderful. I had a father who had a lot of anger, but a lot of love. My mother was very loving, but very fearful. She had a difficult childhood herself, going through the depression. It was hard on her. And I'm not sure how it was on my father, but he was angry, and my mother tiptoed around trying to not set my father off. And I learned. We all, my brother, we learned to tiptoe around. And so I was given double messages. My parents wanted to be the wonderful, supportive parents, good parents. They gave love. They were demonstrative. They said I was beautiful, I was smart, I was talented, all those wonderful things. And I believed it. But every once in a while, something would slip out. I'm good for nothing. I'm ungrateful. I'm lazy. I'm fat. And they never actually told me I was fat, but they told me the story about how I was a 10-pound baby and the nurse coming down the hall, saw my father coming down the hall when I was born and said, "Here comes Fatso's father." And that was sort of a family story that you hear every once in a while. And I really felt, that stayed with me. So there was the good me. I couldn't really, as a child, try to understand how I could be good and bad at the same time, how I could be good for nothing, and how I could be wonderful and beautiful. And the way I came to put it together in my little mind was that my parents were really wonderful. They were so good, so generous, so loving, that they sacrificed themselves to love me, to take care of me, to give me everything. That they gave me a wonderful, loving home that I didn't deserve. I was just really a bad person. I didn't always believe that, but there's the mix. And how do you put it together? I couldn't. And so I sort of, it was a very discomforting place to be. I learned over the years to go away from that place, to dissociate. If I felt uncomfortable, then I would have a busy mind. I would be reading things or counting the dots on the ceiling, or I'd read a book. That was unacceptable. My father was a teacher, my mother worked in the school. So reading was definitely an acceptable activity. So I would just read, and lose myself in books, and watch TV and whatever. As I grew older and got married and had my own kids, I buried myself in the TV and ate. It was all to really numb out. It was a activity to just get away, to try to numb out the feeling. I really sort of split away from myself, deserted myself. So it got so that wasn't even really. I would go eat without even being aware that I was discomforted. I would just feel it. So I appreciate Lynn. I too. I'm a massage therapist for work, and so I'm aware of the body. I do energy Reiki work, and so I sometimes remember to run my energy and feel start at the toes and go into the earth and draw the earth's energy up, all that, and before the meditation and things. And I do find that very helpful. I'm also come from a background of faith, and I really love the Course. Jesus has always been an important in my life, well, for most of my life. And I don't know, not that, they're like Linda was saying, or Lisa was saying, that there's so many wonderful ways. I'm not saying that this is the only way. But for me, for those of you who Jesus resonates with, I just like to share something from a book that came my way a number of years ago from a therapist. It's called Love Without Conditions, and it's by somebody who studied the Course. And one thing, Paul Ferrini, Love Without Conditions, and it's reflections of the Christ mind. But in the beginning, when I think about, can I really, I want to run away from everything. Lynn mentioned the cave. I go into my cave. I've always, for years, I've spoken about going into my cave and isolating. So I loved hearing that, appreciating it. And I might, well, read just 2 paragraphs. The first one talks about despair. It says, a single false idea can bring the mind that thinks it to despair, but a single true thought restores the kingdom. Therefore, choose your thoughts wisely, and if you are uncertain what to think, bring your dilemma to me. Surrendering to me is unlike any act of surrender you can know in the world. For the world would use your surrender harshly to control you, but I would use it gently to release you from falsehood and give you back your true self. Self with a capital S. I just know that for me, Jesus I can trust him. 1 minute. Whoa. For me, I need to hang on to just like one-liners. I need to keep it very simple. And this is what God gave me when I asked for a place to begin. God is the strength in which I trust. It's lesson 47. And it says, if you are trusting your own strength, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. What can you predict or control? What is there in you that can be counted on? What would give you the ability to be aware of all the facets of any problem and to resolve it in such a way that only good can come of it? What is there about you that gives you the recognition of the right solution and the guarantee that it will be accomplished? And of yourself, you can do none of these things. Anyway, God is the strength in which I trust. And for years, my favorite Bible verse has been Proverbs 3, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And to me, that's like a formula. Open your heart, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. You open. And it says, warns you, lean not unto your own understanding, the egoic mind. Don't try to understand it. But in all your ways, acknowledge him. And to me, that means turning to him and asking for his help in my dilemma or whatever. And he shall direct your paths. He wants to. He always does, if there is even a path. But it's just being. It's just... that's just a wonderful formula for me. It just really reminds me. So into my heart and not into my head, turn to God, and there you are in heaven. Thank you.
I love you too. You're up, baby.
Good morning. My name's Nancy Fitzgerald. Somehow I'm reworking all of what I thought I would say by hearing everybody else. So I'm not sure what's going to come out this morning. With regard to anxiety, for me, I always thought of that as kind of a non-specific fear. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that was wrong. You know, it didn't seem like anything was wrong, maybe, but I knew I didn't want to do something. So people reminded me of sometime at the end of first grade when we just moved from Ohio to Florida. I did not want to walk to school. I had been doing it, but I did not want to go out that door. And I still don't know quite what it was that was bothering me. In junior high school, I had a particular friend, and we'd go from class to class, especially in 7th grade, which was the first time we had to move between classes. And when she was out sick for a couple days, I felt like there was this huge spotlight on me walking around. Oh, she's by herself. She doesn't have anybody else walking with her. And I was anxious. I don't know why it was. For what? I mean, so even if they noticed, which they probably didn't, they were probably worried about their own anxiety. So what? And then it still happens, and it tends to be when I start thinking I have to be doing more or taking care of things or whatever. So if lots of stuff comes up, not too long ago, well, I've been for 6 months. I've been working with a realtor to try to find. I'm not even quite sure what. That's probably why it's difficult to find. But and I, except I'll know it when I see it, right? And about a month ago, I found something accidentally. Somebody had unofficially shown me a house that was for sale. He wasn't the owner. He wasn't the realtor, but the open house you think you're here for, that's not here. And I said, really? And he says, but this house is for sale. Would you like to take a look? And I'm thinking, the other one goes from 1 to 3. It's only 10 to 1. I'll finish my text and then I'll go in. So I looked around and I got the text and I thought, this is an interesting house. I'd like to see it with my now friend, the realtor. And I sent a text and there was no immediate response. Usually there was a response that said, okay, I'll check, or, basically I got your message. And a couple, 3 hours went by and it turns out that the message came in. Hi, Nancy, this is Sean's wife. He passed away yesterday. He was as old as my son, and all of a sudden he's not there. So there was a couple weeks when I was undone and tried to get to the wake and sent texts to the people at the office and had to pick up a new realtor. And it was okay. I mean, I thought, well, I don't need to be doing anything right now, except that I'd made myself a habit, a rule that every morning I'd check and see what Sean sent. Sometimes it was 0 new properties, but every morning I was looking and checking and seeing what I wanted to look at. And all of a sudden, there were no more messages. There were some people who were uncomfortable because of getting a message from someone they now knew had passed. So they canceled all of them. So for a couple weeks, it turns out I didn't have those messages. And there were other things going on. So with my son, I have a little duplex in Pittsburgh where on one side his dad lives and on the other side a friend who turned out to be a Course in Miracles student after she came as a tenant was leaving after 5.5 years. So there's an open vacancy and I'm trying to relearn Zillow because Greg says that Craigslist is outdated. I have to do Zillow. So, okay, so he helps me and we're posting that. And then there's another transaction he and I are doing, and there's this, talk to this lawyer, check with these people, and then it turns out that a friend had an abrupt need for a new housing, and so that was going on, and there are a lot of things I end up doing. One of my superpowers seems to be being present, and to me that means being present, but not necessarily saying what I see or telling stories after I'm with somebody. So I'm not in the habit of even explaining all this most of the time. So it becomes kind of fuzzy. And when I realize I'm anxious, like a couple weeks ago when I thought, okay, this is not going so well. I've worked myself all up here. I don't quite know why, because I don't know whether I'm doing what I'm supposed to do here and here and here, or is this complete up to now? Is this complete? So it's like I can see that, I can feel it, and I usually relate it back to something about being guilty. I'm anxious because I might be guilty that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't do the homework assignment right. I didn't do what I said I'd do, and it goes. And then it goes back to, I have these thoughts, these rules for myself, like I'm supposed to answer every text I get. I'm supposed to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm supposed to check this out if I said I was going to check it out, do this little bit of research. So I'm realizing I'm doing it to myself, and at that point, I can fall back on A Course in Miracles, which to me now summarizes it something like, okay, first of all, you have to know that you don't notice that you're upset. Okay, here I am, upset, and that I don't have to stay upset. There's a choice. There's always a choice. And the Course makes it real simple and says it's either fear or love. So if I'm afraid of being guilty, then, and I notice that, then I can choose again, right? I can pick another thing. Okay. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this. And so it's like admitting that I don't want to be here. I'm ready to let go. And then basically letting go somehow, whatever that is. And for me, it's often enough to just open my hands and say, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Thinking I'm in charge isn't working very well. So let me let this go and give it back. Please help me. Often that's enough. It also helps if during the time of sort of watching and waiting for things to change and to take care of themselves, which they often do if I quit worrying about them, I too go outside. I move. I walk. In the summer, it's my bicycle. It's like I just want to get outside. And as Irene said once, it right sizes me. It's like, oh, look how big the sky is. Look how tall the trees are. Look at the sun reflecting on the river. Yeah, I'm still here, but I'm not all there is going on in this world, and I don't have to focus on just that. And so I can let it go, and then really cool things can start happening. It's like, oh, this is just taking care of itself. I just quit worrying about it and wait and let it take its time. I let the universe take as long as it needs. My wishes be fulfilled in a house. Okay, so it takes forever. So what? I mean, or there was a friend in the Sunday group when I was telling her this, said, I once worked with a realtor for 6 years. And I was like, oh God. And so it's all relative, right? It's like, you don't have to do it. So to me, it's pretty simple. It's like, no, you have a choice. Choose to be in a peaceful, happy place instead of a fearful, anxious place. And then ask for help. Let it go, whatever it is. And then trust, wait. It may not happen right away. You may feel better, but if you're worried about things, sometimes it takes things a little while to sort themselves out and give you just the perfect option or just the perfect result. And you got to just you can be patient too. It's like, so what else would I be doing? Here I am standing, talking to you. That's perfect.
That was so good. I just want to say before we bring Kelly up, you guys are so awesome. But what I'm just so struck with sitting there is, the Course says that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. And to see how anxiety, whether it's a situational anxiety or this chronic, like underlying feeling of anxiety, runs in all of us in such seemingly different ways, but it's all the same. It's all a thought. It's a thought that we made up. Maybe from trauma or from someone telling us something or from God knows where. It's a thought based on the incorrect concept of who we think we are. There's one solution to that. Like if I just listening to everybody, it's just like, oh, I feel so connected and so unified and with what we do to ourselves, what we go through. And like if we all stood in a room with our anxiety running, we'd be in the same room, all with these different thoughts of what we should be afraid of and why, when actually nothing is happening. And like God can be reached in the present moment. That's the only place. And there's never anything to worry about in the present moment. Try it. I mean, 99.999% of the time, unless you're being chased by a tiger. But if you bring yourself back to the present moment, there is nothing scary there. God is there. Anyway, thank you. I'm going to bring up Kelly.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Russell. Just another little round of applause, please, for everybody who spoke. So great. I loved hearing everything that everybody had to say, and I think it dovetails really well with everything everyone said, dovetailed really well with what everybody else had to say and with what I have to say. So I'm actually not going to tell a story, only because this seems to be anxiety month for me, where I wrote a blog about anxiety, which is, I think, coming out next week. And it has attached to it a podcast that tells the story of how I healed my own anxiety with A Course in Miracles. So, spoiler alert, it has a happy ending. And I'm doing a meditation in the transformation room as one of the deliverables this month as well. And so very grateful to be doing that. So, and then I thought about, geez, it's so weird that anxiety month seems to be November, because like what other month would it be, right? It's the start of the holiday season and everybody starts freaking out and everybody's anxiety starts going like this. So I want to talk about anxiety from the position of this here. The anxiety is the effect, but the cause of all of our anxiety. Who hasn't felt anxious ever? Hands? Yeah, none. Okay. The cause of all of our anxiety is rooted in our belief that we separated from God in the first place. So there was a time when we were not anxious and we didn't even know what anxiety was, and we were just all love, because love is all there is, right? As the Course says, that, you know, the opposite of fear, of love, is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposite. And so we're all love with no opposite. And then there's this tiny mad idea that just is gone in a nanosecond, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. So he took it all seriously. And then the Big Bang happened, and we all thought that we were in, you know, billions and billions of different separate pieces, alone, and alone and separate and scared and full of fear. And so then the ego mind is formed at that time. It's a split part of our minds. It's not even real, but we listen to it anyway. And it says, okay, well, I got a place we can go. So you come with me and it'll be safe. You won't have to worry about God, because now that we've separated from God, we're like, oh shit. Like, he is going to be so pissed at me. He's going to reject me. I rejected him. So he's going to abandon me. And so the ego says, well, I got this place and you can be in charge and you can be God. And so it's the body, right? It's the world. It's the world of form, and it's the body. And we think, thanks, ego. You're my bud, And so, but then the weird thing that happens about being in the world and being in a body and believing in the ego's thought system, which is based in fear. So this world is created by a thought of fear. The body is a fear thought. It's a solution to something that never happened, that's rooted in fear. And so then, even though the ego mind told us to come here and created all of this, like our big savior, now when we're here, we're fearful. And so we got faked out. This was not actually the answer to me being scared and alone and fearful and small and without without support and without love. This actually is a replication of that. And so now, in addition to being in this place where it's created by fear and we feel separate, we look like we're separate, we're all in separate bodies and we're in separate families and we're in separate genders and we're in separate cultures, and it's just separate. So it's just separation after separation. On top of that, then we have to feel this fear, like this low-lying, for some people, it's just this low-lying background kind of noise, kind of buzz that is anxiety. For some people, it's more of a sense of dread. For some people, as Lynn said, you wake up in the morning and you just feel it. And it's very, very possible to feel it in the body because it has to do with your central nervous system. And so even though the body is not real, as we learn in A Course in Miracles, if we're waking up in it, appearing to be in it every day, it feels real to us, and anxiety affects it. So now the ego mind that sent us here in the first place to rescue us from being in fear of God has created a way for us to feel fear all the time in our body and in our psyche in the form of anxiety. It's so fucked up. It is, and yet it's also kind of genius. It's that crazy genius, And so what has been, when I think about this, my superpower came to me late in life after I found the Course in Miracles. It's my superpower is forgiveness. For anybody who ever heard me teach anything, you know that. And that is what the answer is. The answer to our feeling separate and to our feeling like we're alone and our feeling like we are not loved. Because I'm a transformational coach and a psychotherapist, as a lot of you know. And I would say pretty much everyone who comes to me with anxiety. For some people, it might be PTSD. For some people, it might be identifiable as a generalized anxiety disorder. For some people, they're coming to talk about a relationship they're having trouble with, or they're afraid of their finances are all in disarray, or they can't figure something out, or they can't get along with people, or their kids are doing this, that, or whatever. But when you break it all down, it's all anxiety that they're feeling about something. And so the answer is for us to remember who we are. Anxiety is about forgetting who you are and believing what the ego mind is telling you who you are. Believing that you're separate, believing you're alone, believing you're small, powerless, weak, helpless. And in fact, the truth of us is that we are powerful beyond measure. We are the children of God. God's love and God's light flows through us. That's the truth of us. It's not blood. It's not oxygen. It's God's light and God's love. That's who we really are. And so we are not weak and small. We are so powerful, we don't even realize how powerful we are. We are so powerful that part of our minds created this whole cosmos and this world and this body. And that was just the part that was fear, which is just a small, infinitesimal, fake part of our minds. And yet we are so powerful. That's what happens. So when you put that power to work, remembering who you are, and you put that power to work, thinking about the fact that you are made of God's love, you are made of light, that you can do anything because you have the love of God within you. You can heal anxiety. You can heal the world. You can heal everyone else's anxiety. by you remembering who you are, and you remembering who your brother is, and you remembering who everyone else is, that is what heals anxiety, is you remembering who you are. And the way that you remember who you are, just going to call in my superpower right now, is practicing the Course in Miracles version of forgiveness, which is I remember that I am dreaming an illusion. I forgive whatever it is. I forgive you. I forgive myself. I forgive whatever circumstance, whatever condition, whatever relationship or the body or a situation or an institution or a politician or whatever it is, because I remember that I made it up. I remember that it is an illusion, that I am dreaming. And I forgive myself for dreaming this illusion and making it up. And I ask Spirit, help me see this differently. Help me remember who I am. And then I release it to Spirit and it is healed. And that is, you know, anxiety takes all the different forms, all the way out from this way out when we were in bliss with God, all the way down into the body and into our central nervous system. But that's all the idea of fear in our minds. The truth of us is that we are love, and love heals anxiety. Namaste. Thank you.
Let's just give every single person who had the courage to come up here a huge hand. We love you guys. Next month, our topic in the transformation room is the real meaning of Christmas. Through all the chaos that we go through at Christmas and the materialism, we are a group of people that is going to stay focused on why we're really here. What Jesus showed us, the birth of the highest in us, the birth of the Christ in us. And so our open mic, so our monthly topic for November in the transformation room will be the true meaning of Christmas. And our open mic next month here will be that as well. Look at this beautiful circle. Okay. So thank you to all for your donations. Again, we are a nonprofit organization. We are a small group of people trying to make a big vision happen. We'd love your support, both financially and spiritually. There's a love box over there. And there is a donate button on anyone who's live streamed. Thank you for all your live streamers. Let's bless the tithes and offerings. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Okay, let's just get a little centered here. I don't know how we could not be after all of that. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Father. Thank you, everyone in this room, every live streamer, every part of this sonship. Thank you for A Course in Miracles. In every way, we are constantly reminded the one purpose we have here is to remember our truth. And every anxiety is here as a tool, as a guidepost to point us back in that direction. Let us use this anxiety to point us back in that direction, to see that we can't fix it alone, that we can't fix it within the same thought system that created it. We've got to reach somewhere bigger. And in everything we do from this moment forward, to know that every situation, every relationship, every person, every thought is designed to bring us back to our true self, our one and only purpose here. We are always being guided. It's just our decision to use whatever's happening for our good. So may we all go forward in strength and in love and in total trust and forgiveness. For this we say, amen.